Welcome to America's premier forum on the National Flood Insurance Program. Hi, my name is Rich Slevin with H2O Partners, FEMA's training contractor with the NFIP. And I have one very simple word for you today: basements. You know, an awful lot of us around the United States have basements in our homes and other buildings. And when it comes to flood insurance, the key is to really understand just what a basement is and then what impact that basement might have on us as policyholders. As I said, an awful lot of us have basements and we know it. Others have them and don't realize it, and yet others still think they have basements but don't. Now, the only way to clear up that confusion is to take a look at the definition of a basement under the National Flood Insurance Program. So let's take a second and do that now. Here's our definition of a basement. In the NFIP, a basement is defined as any area of the building, including any sunken room or sunken portion of a room, having its floor below ground level on all sides. It doesn't matter what anybody living there or working there does with it or calls it. If the floor is subgrade on all sides, then it meets the definition of a basement. Note that that definition could include a sunken room or even a sunken living room. Those meet the definition of a basement as well. Now, it's important to understand the definition of a basement from both a rating and a coverage standpoint. In the National Flood Insurance Program, we have rates for buildings with basements as well as those without. The National Flood Insurance Program also limits coverage in basements. It limits it to a very specific set of Coverage A building property items and Coverage B personal property items. Let's first take a look at a list of Coverage A building property items covered under the Standard Flood Insurance Policy. Notice when you look up and down this list, it is these items and only these items that are covered. This list basically represents all the major mechanical and structural elements, all the things that keep a structure habitable and allow it to have function. Items such as furnaces, central air conditioners, water heaters, sump pumps, water softeners, electrical junction, and circuit breaker boxes. All the structural elements like footings, foundations, posts, pilings, piers, and other foundation walls are covered. They're all those things that keep a building habitable and allow it to have function. But things like finished walls, finished floors, and ceilings are not covered. Although a lot of the items on the Coverage A list are common in typical basements, they're not likely to be something that you might see in a sunken living room. Now, there's a much shorter list of personal property items covered under Coverage B, personal property. Let's take a look at those. Once again, it is these three and only these three, and only if the insured purchased contents coverage. Notice it's just clothes washers and dryers, air conditioning units, the portable or window variety, and food freezers and the food in them. One more item we should discuss is something that people commonly refer to as a walkout basement. Are those basements, and are they subject to the basement coverage limitations? Well, if this is what we call a walkout basement, then we need to ask ourselves, does this meet our definition of a basement? Does it have a floor that's subgrade on all sides? Well, if you answer no, and you should, then you recognize that not only does this building not have a floor that meets the definition of a basement, but it also would not have those basement coverage limitations. I'm Rich Slevin, and that's the definition of a basement, and that's how basement coverage works under the National Flood Insurance Program. Stay tuned for Part 2, Basement Coverage, where we actually take you on a tour of a basement.